Okay, now let's put a cat character into a simple scene. We've made indoor scenes before, so let's go ahead and make an outdoor scene this time. Okay, open up a brand new Max, and then the first thing you want to do is go to File and go to Save As. Okay, make sure that you're in the H drive, the student drive, and in your scenes folder. Okay, let's save it as your last name, your first name, Project 4C, Simple Outdoor Scene, and save. Okay, the next thing we want to do is just go ahead and immediately set up our viewports. It only takes literally a few seconds. Both default shading and display selected with edge faces. Finally, let's check our unit measurements just by going to Customize, Unit Setup, US Standard Feet with Decimal Inches. It's probably already set. Okay, so this outdoor scene is just going to be a simple backdrop scene. Think of it like a virtual movie studio or something like that. So, or a virtual stage. I'm just going to go ahead and in my front viewport here, I've started creating a box and I'm just going to send it back a little bit. Okay, and right click so I stop making boxes. Here I'm going to go ahead and set the size of the box, and I think maybe about, oh, let's say 12 feet high by about maybe about 18 wide. So a little bit wider than it is high. And then we'll just go ahead and center it and raise it up a little bit. All good. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a plane. That's for the backdrop. This will be for the ground. And I'm just going to take a plane and I'm going to draw it out here in my top view. And I'm going to give it a number of segments. So let's see, we made the first one 18. We'll make this one 18 wide as well. And we'll make it 12 as well. So it's just the same as the backdrop here. Now with the segments, I'm going to give it a few more segments. How about something like, let's say 24 on the length and 36 on the width. So in other words, we'll have a little vertice about every 6 inches. And you'll see why that's important in here in just a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some materials on these. So I'm just going to start with a standard material right here. And right away, I'm going to name this one backdrop. And I will make it so that it shows up. And let's see here, how's about if I go into the T drive and into art and into my images, we'll find a few new folders and one of them says backgrounds. I think, what the heck, this one looks kind of interesting. We'll go with this one. Alrighty, and then I'll connect this over to the right here to the diffuse color. And I think I'm also going to go ahead and connect that to the bump. I want it to bump out a little bit. And here in the maps for this, drop that down. And where it says bump, I'm going to go ahead and raise that up to about 150%. That should be good. And I'll close up the maps. I'm going to take that and drag it over to the backdrop. And I can close that up. And we'll see that this got the picture on it now. Looks pretty good. But I am going to name this not box, but backdrop. Always really important to name things. It makes things just much, much easier. Okay, so now for the plane here, I think what we'll do, let's see here, Alt W to make things a little bit bigger. You see how this is coming out here? I think we can kind of match that a little bit so it matches our background. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and make this plane. We'll call it ground. And we'll make it editable, so an editable mesh. I'll select the vertices, and I'm going to use soft select. Okay, maybe right about here. Maybe make that a little bit bigger. I'll pull that up a little bit. Maybe over here a little bit. Not bad, not bad. We'll leave that alone. So that's good. Maybe even pulling it out here a little bit. Just sort of shaping that. And then how about over here? We'll pop this one out a little bit as well. Why not? There we go. Nothing too fancy for now. We might mess with that later. But just something a little bit to give it a little bit of shape. Maybe even a little bit more over here. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. Okay. Good, good. Good enough. Okay, so we could put a picture on this. So let's go over here and make ourselves a material. Put that up here. We'll go for a standard material. And we're going to call it ground. And we're going to make sure that it shows up in the viewport. We can put it onto the ground. And let's get a picture. So here I've got another folder that says ground. And maybe something like this mossy rock. That might look good. So we'll go ahead and pull that in. And I think we'll go ahead and change the bump on that as well. So we'll put bump there and raise that up to about 150%. So very bumpy. Let's see what that's starting to look like here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Now, you know, I find that Max is kind of hard on the wheel, the little center wheel on your little mouse. And so I find that if you push down the control key and the alt key at the same time, and instead of rolling the wheel, if you'll do that and you can just push down the wheel and drag the mouse, well, it's a lot easier to zoom in, but it's also a lot easier on the mouse, I think. So let's see, what does that starting to look like? Oh, that's not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. Okay. Another thing we could do, here I'll just show you a little trick. I'm not sure if we'll go with it or not, but look at this. So let's go to our top viewport here for a second. And if I was to do this, I'm going to go here back to the backgrounds. Okay. And back to my materials here. And actually I didn't even need to go to the backgrounds here. I'm just going to take this background. This is the same one that we were using before for the background. And I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to select it first. And holding down my shift key, I'm just going to pull it down here, right? And I'm going to put it in instead. Okay, you're thinking, well, Mr. Coon, that's crazy. But watch this. So what I'm going to do then, what I wanted to, oh, this is what I want to do. Yeah, so tiling there. I wanted to flip it horizontally. That's what I wanted to do. And then, see, so in other words, what I'm doing is I'm matching this picture with the one on the top. Let's see, so yeah, that's not it. There we go, something more like that. Okay, let's see what that looks like. And back to my perspective. Oh, back to my perspective here. Okay, so you see this is now lining up and it's got all the same colors as what was on there before. Let's see, what did it look like before? Looked pretty good. So now let's see, what does it look like now? See, that looks pretty good. And a lot of that we could probably hide this part, but we've got this nice seamless sort of integration with here. I think I'm going to keep that, and I might still use this texture, but later, maybe filling in down here or something like that. Although it does give me kind of the effect of a little bit of a puddle or water or something. Okay, anyways, good enough. We'll keep that. Okay, so now a little bit of scene dressing. I'm going to select both these guys. I'm going to go Object Properties, and I'm going to click off the Show Frozen and Gray, and I'm going to freeze because I'm pretty much done with those. Okay, great. And so now what I'll do is bring a model or two in and a character in. So let's start with that. Let's go over here to Art and to the class characters. So just picking any old character. Let me see, I worked with the princess last time, so maybe this time I'll work with somebody else. How about here, I'll work with Phil. We'll give Phil a chance here. And I'll just drag him in and I'll say merge. Okay, so Phil's in here and he's looking pretty good. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is adjust it so I get a nice camera. Let's see here. So, oh, not that one. Going to my render setup, I want to be on HD TV and medium resolution. Okay. And we want to go Shift F for our safe frames. Looking pretty good. And let's just find a view that we like. Here we go. Now I'll just go Control C. It took me long enough to find that shot, so I don't want to lose it. And that way I've got it. Okay, looks good. Okay, I'm going to end this right here. In the next tutorial, we're going to move on and get this guy animated and set the lighting and all that kind of good stuff. But make sure that you have your scene created right now. So if you have not created your scene yet, do so now. And then you can move on to the next tutorial.